That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be going over the Nasdaq 100, the S&P 500, exactly how we moved on the day. The breaking news just announced how this will affect the market and how this definitely changes everything over the next few days. We need to be talking about this. And before we get into that, I have to ask you to consider doing two things: liking and subscribing. Every single day, I'm giving you the videos, I'm giving you the information, the breaking news that is going to be affected by the stock market and how to trade based on this information. So consider liking and subscribing. It helps out tremendously. Basically, before we go into the charts, I need to address this. This was almost an hour ago, basically like 2:16 p.m., which is about roughly an hour before market close. Biden had this speech. He talked about this. Now, do I think he meant to say he had cancer? I don't believe so. I do not believe so. Maybe he's talking about his skin cancer like they were saying right here. I don't know how to talk about it. I really have no idea what this means, but right now the market's definitely getting hit from this as well. However, we need to start looking at some Bitcoin. We need to start looking at Bitcoin, and we need to start looking at Tesla. Sorry, I kind of jumbled up right there. Tesla announced their earnings, and it was pretty interesting. As you come back to Tesla, you can actually see what they actually announced. If you aren't following stock market news on Twitter, I recommend doing so. They're actually reporting this, all of it as it is released. They beat on revenue slightly, and they beat on EPS. I think their adjusted EPS was about 2.27, but nonetheless, it was a beat both ways. The biggest things from this was Bitcoin converting 75, or Tesla converting 75% of his Bitcoin to fiat, which definitely helped them with their free cash flow and helped them make money along the way. Tesla on the after hours, it did reach about 775, came back down like to 750, bouncing back to 759. We'll have to see exactly where it goes. Their earnings call is coming up. But we talked about this yesterday. We anticipated somewhat of a beat, and you're getting it. Now with the market, this is the real big question everyone's talking about. Yesterday, I told everyone, I said, look, bullish, 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 bullish. That's what we were. Going into yesterday's close, what happened? You were sitting at about this level, about the 12.25 region. Going to after hours, boom, you shot up. You looked really great. You came back down, tested those previous levels, 12.25. I let everyone know in Discord, I was like, this is a perfect test. You're looking great going to this morning. And boom, you took off to the races. If you're not following on Twitter as well, again, I try to keep you guys updated. What did I post earlier this morning? I'm posting pictures so you can see exactly what is happening. Looking at what's going on here, we talked about it earlier this morning, roughly, some of the gains. I talked about you needed to get above that daily level right here, which was about 312, 325. Guess what happened after you broke that level? Immediately after, it was a straight candle to the moon. Take it, leave it, whatever you want to do. That's what's happening there. Now, going into today, what happened and what overall was announced. And I want to talk about some of the volatility that we had kind of to the downside. So I anticipated to get like a push to 12.55, 12.6, getting better push. Now, you were on your way continuously making those higher lows throughout the day. You had a very interesting thing happen about right here. You may have been watching it. It may have hurt you. Now, I want to talk about a trade that I was personally taking. I was taking this NVIDIA trade. I talked about it on Twitter, and it's a very good learning lesson for everyone here as well. So this was the NVIDIA trade. You were sitting in a bull flag. You were pushing up. This is a very bad angle to look at this trade, but I just quickly talked about this going on. So basically got to this range, and I started adding on this dip, averaging in, averaging in, averaging in. I got my average down really nice, and then you started popping on the flag with a lot of momentum. But what happened right here? There was no negative news on NVIDIA. There was no real market drop. It was all this negative news coming out of Google. Google basically announced they're pausing their hiring for the next 2 weeks, and they're overall cutting jobs overall. It's kind of like the worst news you want to hear, because all these big companies are coming out saying that they're cutting hiring and they're slowing down exponentially. And the Fed has announced that the slowdown in jobs will greatly affect the economy to the downside, which we've been talking about a lot here. And I want to talk about something else going along with this as well. And you also had the natural gas news, and natural gas went crazy, further pushing the market down. But what's the thing you can learn from this is that you can have the perfect setup, you can have the best break, and this ended up running back to 180 or like 179.5, just so you know at the end of the day. But you can have the best of everything, the perfect setup. But sometimes trades aren't going to go your way. Luckily, we were averaging down. We had tight stops. We lost about 10%. We made about 70, almost 80% on the SPY trade this morning. So those definitely, we made more than we lost on the day. But you have to acknowledge that you can have the best setups. You can't get emotional here. Just have your stops and let it go. Move on to the next trade. So I want people to understand, like, you're going to have great setups, and sometimes things just aren't going to go your way. So just know that this does happen. I'll learn from it and allow yourself to adjust and be able to take those losses and bounce back as well. But what happened on Nasdaq here? Specifically on Nasdaq, you started pushing down. You started to make a bottom right here. If we go to SPY, I want to show you a perfect example of what happened. SPY from that level came all the way back down to the daily level, double bottomed, and I told everyone in Discord this. I said, you're going to hold this level. If you hold this level, you look fine. You look strong, whatever. But if you break below this daily level, the purple line, I expect to flush down to 390. You never got the push down, therefore you pushed back up. The also important thing to recognize from this is what happened with Nasdaq. Now, I want to highlight how Nasdaq was moving today. Yes, again, if we look and compare SPY and ES and NQ, you can see Nasdaq made higher lows here, then broke the trend and pushed back up, looking bullish once again. Now, from this standpoint, you have to look at it as from a bullish sense. And honestly, going into close before we had the crazy Biden news, I was very bullish. I have no idea how this Biden news is going to affect the market. I don't know if they're going to come out and say he misspoke. I don't know what they're going to say. The guy seems like he's losing his mind. And this is very bad for the market. If the news is real and he really does have cancer, you will drop on the market. In my opinion, it will be detrimental going to GDP, going into rate hikes. This will be catastrophic for the market. I think this will be terrible. And for you wondering why, even if you're thinking out there that Biden doesn't run the country or whatever, he probably doesn't. However, when leadership changes, administration, laws, the whole system behind where we're established right now will change greatly. That's why during the election time, you usually get a dip. And then whoever gets elected, you see a pump in whatever stocks or whatever their core values are on the economy and their political stances. Now, looking here, if this happens, I anticipate a strong retest of 12.25. But we're going to have to wait and see in the pre-market and after hours right now. If you get above these highs going into tomorrow, I want to highlight right here. If you get above this region, making new highs, 12.55, you will start pushing up to 12.6, and then you're going to be in that range from 12.9 to 12.6, pushing very likely. But going into SPY, what am I looking at here? I am now looking for this retest of the key zone we've been watching for a while. This nice juicy gap that you've had for quite a bit of time. That gap goes all the way back to around 400, 401. So that's where I'm looking at SPY to go. If we look at something like Qs, you can already see what has happened here, guys. What has happened? You've started filling that gap today. So looking at Qs, you're already starting to fill. You got very, very close to that range as well. If you did not already fill it, actually, let me zoom out a little bit more. I'm sorry. Got to go back way over here. Yeah, you actually did fill it way quicker. So you filled that, and then you started pushing up even higher. That is worth mentioning. SPY has not done it. Dow, ES are definitely lagging behind NQ. So I think those have a lot of room. You still look very strong in the market, but you have to acknowledge this crazy news that just came out on the market regarding Joe Biden. Again, I'll let you guys know once I know the facts. It will be on Twitter. I will let everyone know how I'm trading and what I'm looking at. But as of now, what are you looking for? In my opinion, the key ranges that I am watching right here. I'm going to be watching this level about right here through here. The range of about 12.35, 12.34. I want to see if you can maintain these previous highs right here. If you can maintain holding this level, in my opinion, you look very bullish, right? You look very strong. You just had strong Tesla earnings as well. So as long as this Biden news does not cloud the market, you should continue going up. But the level to watch is going to be, can you hold the previous highs of that level, 12.35? If you break below this region and pushing down, you have to start targeting 12.25. And once again, if you get below 12.2, you're targeting the 12,000 region. So I'm going to be all eyes, all hands on deck watching this and letting you guys know as well. SPY, what am I looking at here? I want to make sure and I want to watch to see, are you going to hold this daily level? This is the only level that I really care about right here. If you get below this level, I'm anticipating a retest around 388 to 389 in a hurry. Yes, this level right here. I will be expecting an almost immediate, fast, violent test if you get below this level. So again, you come down, you break below retest, you're expecting a strong move down to this level. Now, if you stay strong into market open, what are you looking for? You're looking for a break of the highs. You want to get a new high being established into tomorrow, and then you want to see a push up to that level. So if you start breaking, if you come out bullish whatsoever and make a new high, you will test, in my opinion, 400 to 399 almost instantaneously. It will be very quick, very violent, similar to how we opened up the trading day here with almost straight upside right there. That's what I would be looking at on a broad scale market of how we're trading right now. And that's how I'm going to be establishing myself in my trading strategy going into tomorrow. Now, some of the plays we mentioned, some of the things like that, you had Netflix, their earnings, we talked about them. They moved up again today. You had a nice bull flag, boom, you shot up. Great. Went fantastic. NVIDIA doing its crazy thing as well. Now, what I want to talk about is JNK. Once again, here on JNK, all day long, you were pushing up, up, up. And then once that Biden news came out, boom, you started breaking that level and pushing down. So these are levels that I'm watching a very big concern. In the after hours, JNK is popping back up based on those Tesla earnings. So you definitely want to be watching this. Again, from JNK, we can see you were seeing a negative reaction from that Biden and the sell-off going on there. But you're saying from Tesla, it's pushing all speculation back to the upside because people are going to start putting their money back in the market based on what's happening with these earnings, because so far earnings have been smashing and we're seeing great overall outlooks and new expectations on the market. These are things you like to see right now. But again, if you come out with those key levels broken that we just mentioned, that's what we're looking at for more downside. Again, going to US 10-year, you're seeing yields popping up near the end of the day. Again, we can come back to the same yield inversion that we've been looking at, US 10-year versus US 30-year, and you can see these are still climbing from yesterday. Are we higher? Yes. You're actually growing back to 96%. You're looking for a push back to one full inversion. Again, when that happens, typically you dump violently. DXY, you're pushing back up near the end of the day as well. So these are all things that I'm watching for. You still have more room on DXY to hit those previous highs and where we see us bouncing. But overall, it's a lot of mixed emotions right now in the market, and we need to get a clear answer from the White House whether or not Biden has cancer. Because I'm telling you, if it is proven that he does not have cancer and he just talked out of his butt and doesn't know what he's talking about, or they come out with that overall notion, you will move violently to the upside. Bookmap, what's going on here? Bookmap gave us a very good visual of the market on the day. Now, beginning of the day, what I want to highlight really quick before I even look at icebergs, I want to highlight some key levels here. Your CVD, cumulative volume delta, buyers versus sellers, continuously pushing up, holding very strong. You had that news around Google pop it around right here, and that's when you started dropping and pushing back down. Now, the key area I want to talk about, the key area I want to talk about is when you are moving up on the market, and Jay always talks about this in Discord. So when you're moving up on the market, right? So if we're looking at stocks and you're pushing up, does your volume necessarily have to be strong? No. When you're in a bear market like this, and you can go back and look, but when you're in a bear market, you don't necessarily need crazy volume to push to the upside. All you need is more buyers than sellers. So, for example, if we look at what happened yesterday, and something that Jay was very clear on talking about in Discord was this. So we're going to go really quick back to Nasdaq, and we're going to look at what happened on yesterday's time frame. So when we come back to yesterday, right here, what I want to talk about is this key level of 12.2. For instance, the day before, remember, we had longs and we got killed. We had to get out of those positions. But what was different here? You came to this area, you got pushed down. ES as well. So sellers are stepping in on other indexes as well. Maybe not as strong on Nasdaq, but on the other indexes, sellers were definitely stepping in. So you can come here, and then when you come to this range, you continue to make those higher lows, and sellers never step in. You continuously make higher lows and go higher and higher. What does that mean? So when you come to these key areas, you're expecting, right? You're expecting downside and a rejection, and you're expecting this supply area to start pushing you down because that's where sellers traditionally step in. Just like when you come back down to our buy zone, that's where buyers typically, quote unquote, step in. That's why when you get that strong bounce, you have to be bullish. That's why. So when we look here, you saw sellers were nowhere to be found. And if we go back to ES, it even shows here. So we go to ES, come right back, and I'm going to show you on yesterday's price action, right? So we come back. This is yesterday. You can clearly see what happened. So right here all day long while NQ was trending at these highs, ES was going down, which I mentioned. But what happened yesterday? All day long, you didn't even get pushed back out of that supply zone. You continue to make higher highs, higher lows, and then you push through it. Sellers never got in here. You can see, look at the reaction. You come in, down, in, down, in, down. Lower highs continuously. Totally different here. So the point in saying this is, in these type of markets, when you're in a quote unquote bear market to when you're getting this upside pressure, you don't necessarily need crazy volume. So what happened today, for instance, when you got that Google news, is you saw immediate downside because sellers finally stepped in because there was no sellers on the market. If we come back to Bookmap, you can see, in my opinion, there was just no selling. For instance, you were just seeing mostly buying coming in here and then only selling happening here. This is where sellers started to really start attacking. But then something interesting happened and you rounded off near this bottom. Again, you come back to NQ and you can really see what happened here. So I'm just going to come back. I'm sorry, stay with me. I'm trying to help you guys understand the price action here. And when you come down here, you start to make higher lows. And that to me shows you that there's not sellers stepping in here, that buyers still want to take over. And there's more buyers here on the market. And so what happened is, again, buyers stepped in. Even though the volume may not have been massive, there's just no sellers. And if we go back and we really look at what's happened on most of these runs to when you're dropping, and again, shout out to Jay because we've been going over this so much in Discord, look at how you really drop. It's continuous downside, very minimal upside, or at least takes you at least a day. So when you start breaking out of a trend here, look at the sell volume, just massive, massive, massive. You don't ever really round off. At least you don't round off within 1 hour of that selling. So you can see just massive trending here. So when you started pushing there, we had to watch, and I was like, look, you can't even short this yet because you're not following through with selling. And so that's what we're seeing right now. And that's why going into tomorrow, I'm so adamant on watching these key levels. So if you come out tomorrow and you break this range, going to that downside, like we mentioned right here, then you're looking for sellers because they're taking control. They're reclaiming these key areas and they're going to continue to push you down. But as long as this remains and as long as sellers don't start dominating the market, in my opinion, you continue on this upward run. Why? Because earnings, the overall statement of the market, the overall trend that we're in right now, you're breaking through key levels that we haven't broken through in over almost a month and a half. These are all reasons to look bullishly on the market in the short term until GDP and the rate hikes. But again, none of this matters if Biden comes out and actually has cancer right now. You will continue down and you will get hurt. I'm sorry if I can't give you a clear direction on the market today. I'm sorry if I didn't give you a clear answer on what you wanted, but these are what the levels that I'm watching and where I'm watching us to go. But you need to be watching Biden. Does he have cancer? And again, I will let everyone know on Twitter and verify everything as we go. But so far, the White House has not made a statement. Have a good one, traders.